I think we can all agree that we loved to watch cartoons as a kid. Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon were what I looked forward to most in my day when I got home from first grade. I'd sit right in front of my huge box-like TV and get ready to watch SpongeBob, Kids Next Door, or Hey Arnold. And I mean right in front of my TV. My couch was actually perpendicular to the TV so that I could perch my little arms on the armrest of the couch and sit about a foot away from the TV screen, and thinking back on it, maybe that's why my vision is so awful. Cartoons were incredible as a kid, and they still are today because they sparked my imagination, they made me laugh, and they fueled my incessant need for non-stop action. But one thing that I never grew up watching was anime. The first time I was introduced to anime was definitely not the most optimal way to be introduced to it, especially as a young teenager. I was around 13 and I was at my friend Jack's house. Our usual game plan when we hung out was just to play Halo 3 on his Xbox 360, but this time was different. He decided to show me an anime that he was watching that his older brother showed him, and it was called 𝙬𝙬𝙖𝙧. If you aren't familiar with this anime, it's a very gory horror style anime, and it has one of the most iconic opening scenes in all of anime. The main character Lucy goes on an all-out spree, killing every guard that tries to stop her escape from this facility that she was imprisoned in. Unfortunately, I have to censor this scene or else I'm gonna get age restricted, but you get the idea of what her supernatural powers were like. As a 13-year-old kid, this kind of traumatized me. I remember that I couldn't really sleep a couple of nights after I had watched that, and it just left me with a bad taste in my mouth about anime as a whole. I was like, is this the type of cartoons that they're watching in Japan? Like, man, I don't think I ever want to watch anime again. So a couple years went by and I sat on the sidelines while most of my closest friends enjoyed watching their animes while I just sat there in confusion. But then something happened. I just decided to give anime another shot. And ironically, the first ever animes that I got into were the gory ones. Tokyo Ghoul, Dead Man Wonderland, Parasite, all quickly became an obsession of mine. What's even more ironic is that I decided to give 𝙬𝙬𝙖𝙧 another chance, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, except for, you know, some of the parts where there's just absolute madness happening, but I did enjoy the story of it and the romantic side of it. Anime was starting to become my prominent form of consuming media. And I didn't know it at the time, but I feel as though anime was a critical part to the development of the life lessons that I still believe in today. Not the horror-esque, gory aspects of it. Those were cool and all, but the things that were taught by each character. For instance, in Tokyo Ghoul, the main character Kaneki didn't have any sort of family to turn to when his mother died from overworking herself. He thought she was the kindest person he'd ever come to know, working endlessly to help others. It wasn't until the half-ghoul part of him, which happened due to a series of accidents where he got the organs of a ghoul implanted in him, that made him realize he was wrong about his mother. And that's kind of the fantasy horror aspect of this. He had half of a ghoul living inside of him, and he was able to make contact with this ghoul who was able to give him advice towards the end of season 1, or at the very end of season 1. And the ghoul inside him made him come to this realization. She said this: "There are times when you have to give up on one thing to preserve the other. Your mother couldn't. That isn't kindness, that's just being weak." Kaneki's mom chose her work over taking care of Kaneki and raising him properly. 𝙬𝙖𝙧, which is the half-ghoul that is kind of living inside of him, symbolizes the strength that Kaneki has, but rejects for the sake of being kind. And basically after this, Kaneki realizes he needs to stop being a nice guy, and he turns into a total badass. There are times where you need to not be the nice guy and prioritize what's more important to yourself. That takes real strength, not just being kind and being a people pleaser all the time. And that stuck with me until this day. Now, by far my favorite anime of all time is Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Not only did this show make me cry more consecutive times than any other movie or TV show in history, but every episode, or almost every episode, brought some sort of life lesson to teach me. And Naruto himself is really the culmination of everything I aspire to be and everything I talk about on this channel. He is the prime example of how the power of belief in yourself and putting in countless hours into your craft can help you achieve any of your wildest ambitions. You know, his punchline was like, "I'm gonna be Hokage one day." Believe it! Believe it. Whenever I feel like I'm in a funk or I'm less motivated, I ask myself, what would Naruto do? As ridiculous as this might sound to people who haven't watched anime, this has genuinely helped me through a lot of failures and tribulations. And my favorite anime character of all time, Kakashi Hatake, instilled this sort of confidence and coolness in me that I now try to exude within myself in an authentic way. These guys really taught me that being myself is nothing to be ashamed of at all, and that's probably also why I feel like I resonate so much with anime, is because it is a little weird, it's a little eccentric, it's a little out there, and it taught me that even the most powerful people in the world, or in whatever realm you want to talk about, are also like super weird and have their own personalities and aren't afraid to be themselves. My weirdness felt validated watching these shows of such strange characters that are still so powerful in their strangeness. Naruto was really the anime that solidified the now 8-year relationship that anime and I have had. There's just something about anime that moves me differently from any other form of drawn media, and dare I say it, more than any other TV show or movie has had. The eccentric characters and storyline and plot are all great on their own, but I think what draws me towards anime even more is just how much I feel like I can relate to the characters. And that is something that I just don't think you can get, at least for me, with traditional Western cartoons. And the same can be said for manga, which I just recently started to get into more last year. The art style of the writers and the attention to detail put into each and every one of these columns makes me want to strive for better with each piece of creative work that I put out. Unfortunately, the Japanese have a bad habit of becoming so obsessed with their craft that it takes over their life and takes their life. It's even spawned the term karoshi, which literally means overworked death. And as you guys know, while I'm not the type of channel who will ever promote overworking yourself, I think their dedication to their craft is really inspiring. So why should you watch anime or read manga? I know it can be hard to get past what some people describe as just a really strange and frankly sometimes perverted form of media, but once you actually start to dive deep into a really good anime or manga, expect a totally different experience from what you're usually used to with regular Western cartoons. This won't be something mindless or funny to watch that doesn't teach you much. Expect to be moved, expect to learn a lot about what's really important in life, and expect to cry sometimes. Or maybe that's just me, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people cry from anime. Thank you to all my patrons who support my channel on Patreon. Their names are going to be on screen right now. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a platform where I'm putting out exclusive content that isn't anywhere else, and it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It's a lot of content similar to this, but I just don't want to put on YouTube. So if you want to get that, or you want to get one-on-one advice from me and develop more of a relationship with me, then go to patreon.com/Cole Hastings. The link is also going to be in the description. And that is it for this video. I'm probably going to watch some anime today, not Naruto, because, you know, I already finished that. Sad, very sad, but that's okay. There's always more to watch. I love you guys. See you in the next video.